Hello, and welcome to Let's Talk About Wargames, the podcast where we talk about wargames. Believe it or not, back again after a hiatus, after all of the ills of the world try to keep us down. We're back and stronger than ever. I gained a few inches in height. I don't know about Joe, but I'm stronger, more powerful than ever before.
Definitely gained a few inches in width.
And with me here, as always, is Joe. Hi, Joe.
Hi. I am looking forward to talking about war games. The world needs to talk about war games.
The world does need to talk about war games.
Who's going to do it, right?
Who will do it but us? Two guys with J's that begin their names.
Yep.
If you are a war game journalist out there with J that starts your name, contact us. We'll have you on the show.
We'll even accept if you change your name.
I don't know. I don't know about that. Well, change their name to J or change their name from J. Former J's were invited. To J? Yeah, okay.
Only works if you have the J.
Yeah. Anyway, we're back. The joke about us being down despite everyone trying to keep us down isn't so much of a joke. Our last episode, I think, was 6 months ago, and that was the Civil War episode. And we said the hiatus is over, guys. We promise. Sorry. The thing about that is that when you move twice in 1 year for me, and then once for Joe, and then go through employment changes and health changes and everything, it turns out that sometimes producing a podcast isn't the first thing on your mind. But you know what? We survived it, and we're back. And hopefully this isn't an omen of more bad things to come this year.
But I don't know. We are here to talk about war games. Okay, we're for real this time.
For real this time, yes. And speaking of which, let me talk about what today's episode is going to be. We're going to talk about war games in today's episode of Let's Talk About War Games, the podcast where we talk about war games. This is going to be kind of a general summary. Hey, sorry we haven't been writing and podcasting too much. Here's what you need to know from us, your friendly wargaming experts, about what we've been playing, what's good, what's bad, what's on the way. Joe knows about some things that are coming up in the future. That's exciting. From our pals at Slytherin. Is it Slytherin or Slytherin? I don't think I've ever heard anyone say Slytherin. Slytherin?
I think so. I mean,
of the two Slytherins I know, they're my favorite. I'll say that.
We can always we'll write in to our guy and ask him again.
It's going to be some third insane way that we didn't even think about. Slytherin, Ian, and Micropose.
Slytherin, the slash matrix. Yeah.
Slytherin into our email inbox and tell us how you pronounce it.
Sure.
Yeah. Anywhom, we got games from those folks coming out, which is fun. I think it's very thrilling, to be honest, that we basically have I would say that between the two of them, we actually have whatever the digital wargaming sphere equivalent of AAA publishers are. I don't know if they were really there until recently, but over the last year or so, I feel like there is a primacy in wargaming, and it is them online at least.
I'm really impressed with what Slither Matrix is putting out and what Microphone is putting out the past year. It's been great.
Yeah,
I mean, think, talk about renaissances and gaming and whatnot, but if you're slightly interested in wargaming, basically anything you could want is out there now.
Yeah, it's really strange because I feel like overall, and this is my tinfoil hat theory, I feel like overall the game industry is going to be entering a recession before too long, but I feel like wargaming is inversely somehow stronger than it has been and over the last couple of years. I remember we actually were talking a couple of years ago about the graying of the hobby and how wargaming is in danger of not continuing if more publishers aren't getting out there, more younger faces and everything. And I can't speak for how that is on the tabletop side of things. That's more your realm, Joe, but in terms of digital, I mean, there have been a lot of really solid games that have come out lately.
So I guess, I mean, do you want me to start, or you want to talk about what you've been playing recently?
Well, in the spirit of talking about cool new stuff that has come out lately. Um, is there anything that really comes to your mind that really tickles your brain from Microprose or Slytherin that you really just want to shout about?
Yes.
Yes, go for it.
Second Front is great. Tell me you've played at least a bit of that.
I've been playing a little bit of it. I have bad news for you, Joe.
Oh.
I'm not good at it, and I just don't know if the ASL alike games are really my thing. I don't know. I haven't played any before, and I'm trying to still get into it because I think that between you and I, you said I was going to write the review, and now I feel bad because everyone I've talked to that's played the game is like, "Wow, I love this," and I'm like, "I don't like it as much as you. I'm sorry for letting you down."
Oh, we
Right
gotta talk
after we
about this.
said, "Wow, we have all these great games," you asked me about the one that I've played and I've been a little lukewarm on.
Well, I mean, right off the hop, you're wrong because it's great. But B, I want to
I
know why you're
look.
thinking the way you're thinking.
I'll say this. It is a game that is objectively good. I think it is objectively good. I just don't know if it's my thing. I haven't played it enough to determine that yet, but right now I'm not so hot on it. But
Okay, well, let's dig into that.
objectively speaking, Second Front is a very solidly put together war game. I will say
So
that.
I'm going to explain a bit about the game for people
Okay,
who are
go ahead.
like not quite sure what's going on. This is a squad level World War II turn-based strategy game that tries to replicate the old school board game vibes of Advanced Squad Leader. That's the main one, right?
Yes,
And all those games that follow in footsteps, like Band of Brothers, like Valor and
Band of
Victory.
Brothers.
Yeah, it's from Worthington Press. It's
Oh,
another ASL ish.
I was not familiar with that. I thought you were referencing the book slash TV show.
No, get your board game knowledge.
I'm
Come on, man.
sorry, man. That's what you're here for.
Exactly. I'm explaining it. Yeah, so this game is trying to basically replicate those types of games in a digital format. And we encountered this earlier with Valor and Victory getting a one-to-one adaptation from Slytherin and the War games, I think. And I didn't like it as much as I really, really, really like Valor and Victory on the tabletop, the board game. I was disappointed in the digital adaptation, and I thought, well, maybe that's it. Maybe we just can't get these translations correct. And then Second Front came out, and no, there it is. That's it. That's it. Correct. They did it. So, I mean,
It's got
for
that
me,
special
someone.
sauce in it. Even I can tell. Even I can tell with this little into it. It's got that
Hmm.
special sauce.
Yep. It sets it up like there's some gaming aspects to it because it's replicating a board game, right? Part of what makes it interesting, I think, is that you're actually, I don't play Advanced Squad Leader because it's a pain in the ass and it's expensive as hell, and I don't have 18 hours to sit down and calculate stuff and do that. This game does that. I mean, it gets rid of a lot of the really, 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 really crap, but it keeps all the stuff that makes controlling squads and leaders and heavy weapons and some vehicles at that scale, and it's fun, right? It's broken down. I guess it can be a little obtuse when you're first getting into it if you don't do the tutorials or you're not sure what the little icons are.
I
When
would
you're aiming a
say,
weapon and whatnot.
yeah, I would say uh, a fair criticism I have of the game, other than I don't know how I feel about the vibe yet, is that it is a little it's a little like reading Egyptian hieroglyphics at times, especially if you're not super familiar with the more crunchy war games, particularly uh, board board
Mm,
war games. It's definitely a game that is a board war game ported to digital.
yep. And having that frame of reference, I guess, really helps me. Just because I'm seeing stuff I recognize in how to maneuver and what you can do in game terms to draw out enemy fire and therefore reduce their ability to continue firing so you can move. Having an advance phase where you get to free move at least one hexagon. Like
And
that's
then
such
enter
a
into close
board game
combat.
thing. Yep. Like Valor does that. All the games do that. You
I'm
got that
never good
free
at
move
that
at the
phase.
end.
I never do it well. I always get my ass kicked when I start to go into melee with folks.
They gotta be broken. Even pinned isn't good enough.
Uh,
But yeah, it's On the one hand, it's kind of funny because yeah, it's got all those icons. So if you're not sure what you're looking at, and some of them have tooltips, some of them don't. I hope they fix that.
Yeah,
Hope
that
they
that
keep
was
adding
what
more tooltips.
that's what was intriguing me is seeing the game is pretty good at having a lot of tooltips, but then the things that I don't already understand are the things that don't have the tooltips. I'm thinking like,
Yeah.
okay, well, what is this?
hmm So stuff like status effects, they don't really.
Hmm.
I mean, even I don't know what wounded does. Sometimes people get wounded, and I don't see any real change. I'm not sure what's happening there.
It's
Um,
kind of a
I-
vibe, you know.
but like, it has so many things that I want in every game like this. You hit F, and there's a line of sight tool. You hover your mouse over a hex, and it tells you what everything can see. Like that's so easy compared to other games where you gotta, you don't have that kind of tool, so you're blindly running into stuff, or you need to click on a menu to get to that tool or something. F key, mouse around, you have line of sight.
Yeah.
It's so nice.
The
And
UX, I would
then
say, being able to tell guys to go do things and get information from the game is pretty easy overall. It's just
yeah,
making
like
sense of the information is the part I have a problem with, but getting the information isn't hard.
last time I was playing it, it had been a little bit, like been like a week since I played it, so I was trying to pick up where I left off, and I had guys in the same hex as the truck, and I was thinking, oh god, I don't remember how to put people in a truck. It's going to be some horrifying thing. And then I clicked on the truck, turned the truck on, and it's like, you want to load these guys up? Yeah. Click on the button. Okay, look, they loaded up. It's like, oh, that's so beautiful. Because, I mean, I love war game design studio stuff, like the old John Tiller games. But man, it's like a 14-step process to get people moving down the road.
Oh yeah.
And here it's just, oh, look at that, it worked. So, I mean, there are some times where I feel like there's some annoyances. I mean, it doesn't show you the dice rolls. It just gives you like a vague percentage, and then you know you get that vibe sometimes where you're playing and I miss this guy 18 times. I move one hexagon, he shoots me back once and breaks my squad.
Yeah.
Like, come on, god damn it! But
I
that's
feel like
literally
you
just
should see the
dice.
dice. It feels like in games like this where it is determined with dice rolls, I feel like you should see the
hmm
dice because otherwise it always leaves that little suspect in your brain saying, "What if the game's cheating?"
Yeah, I would like to see dice just because I want to see the numbers because I feel like I have a better understanding of how it's
All
working.
wargamers
But
love
then
seeing numbers. That's not weird.
like I mean, I remember Axis and Allies online where they showed me the dice, and I swear to God, they're cheating.
I think we talked about that. I think that we
Yeah.
determined that they were.
Well, they were cheating is strong. They pre-generate an array of numbers, but it's
Oh yeah.
never long enough to actually randomize. So it's random in the sense that it is random numbers, not random in the sense that the array that they generate is not big enough to actually create a solid spread.
That's insane.
And then they apparently changed it, but I haven't gone back because the taste was too sour. But second front, right? I mean, you have
Two
um
whole fronts.
you do actually got Western Europe and you have Eastern Europe,
Yeah, which is
and
impressive.
yeah, and it plays interestingly differently enough. I found I enjoy playing as all three of the different factions. You've got vehicles, you've got mortars, you've got guns, you've got some fun board game stuff like automatic or heavy weapons have a chance of reloading, so you can keep shooting.
Hmm. It's really good with tanks or mortars when you get that second and then sometimes third reload. It's like, oh, don't mind if I do.
Yeah,
You
it
know?
feels good.
Yeah.
So I mean, I've been really enjoying that one because it scratches that board game itch, and I don't have to. Valor and Victory disappointed me so much.
Sorry,
The
Joe.
AI is pretty good. Valor and Victory, they freaking run in circles. Here, leaders will try and recover units because you get a bonus to rally if there's a leader on the same hex. They pull back when they need to. They stay out of cover. They try and flank sometimes. Sometimes they derp, but like it's not nearly as often as I've seen in other games.
Sure.
So after I sing its praises like that, what's wrong with it?
I just don't like the vibe. It's one of those things that's really
Eh,
hard to quantify. It's just like if you don't like a game, you don't like a game. You know, sometimes it's just like that. And I'm willing to say that I don't think that I've played it enough to really give an entire to really justify the whole writing and a review on it yet. saying that I don't like it because of X, Y, and Z. It's just, sometimes you play something for a little bit and you're like, I don't know. Maybe this is us as game critic brain, is that I just immediately starting out, I just have a feeling. And I, I've written about so many games at this point. It's just when I get that feeling to start with, I tend to know that it's going to be my overall opinion, and it just doesn't flip much. It just might not be my thing. That being said, like I mentioned, I think it's an objectively good game. If the ASL kind of game is your thing, uh, then you'll like it. It might just be that I don't like the ASL kind of game. I haven't played any others as far as I remember. So it could be that this just is not my kind of thing. Maybe I like more operational or strategic level stuff rather than squad based.
I
That
mean,
being
that
said,
could be
I'm
a
still
thing.
excited to see Burden of Command, but who knows whenever that's coming out.
I too would hope to see that one come out soon. But I mean, like
Someday,
my wife
perhaps
plays
my
war games.
grandchildren can play it, but
Yeah, but she doesn't like squad based war games. Like she doesn't like to play at this scale. Where you're moving men. She likes operational through to strategic. Big top down economic decisions, that kind of stuff. So I mean, it could just not be your style of game, right?
that could be the case. I'm still gonna put some hours into it though. I wanna give it its fair shot.
hmm
I wanna
Even
let it change
has
my mind.
it's got like that type of campaign I enjoy, where you're playing like a day, but here's the morning phase, and then you fight on a chunk of the map, and then the map will expand in the direction of the battle, almost like
I do like that.
what was that? Not Broken Arrow. Regiments that came out recently. I freaking
Regiments.
love that, and that had that same kind of campaign structure. So it's just a different, slightly different scale, and being turn-based rather than real time. Did we
Hmm.
talk about Regiments before? I know we reviewed it. I think.
We included it in one of the streams that we did. I played some of it and you commented about it.
Hmm. Because I love Regiments. That was
I'll
great.
be honest, I haven't played much Regiments since then, and it's not because Regiments isn't a good game. It's just I don't know.
Mm,
It's one of those things where you have to determine how you want to spend your time. And since I played Regiments, a lot of other things have been coming out, and I've had things to do. Regiments is a good game. I like Regiments. I just haven't had the time to devote to it. On
hmm
an unrelated note, I started playing Final Fantasy 14, but that's not related at all.
Yeah, Final
I'm a
Fantasy 14.
sham. I'm
Well,
sorry. Kick me off the podcast.
what about the tactics games?
Tactics games. Which tactics
Yeah,
games?
Final Fantasy Tactics.
Final Fantasy Tactics? I
Yeah.
I I, I did not like Final Fantasy Tactics. It's not my
Dear
thing. I'm
God,
more
man.
of a Fire Emblem guy. Speaking of which, actually, that's a great segue. I
hmm
started playing the newest Fire Emblem game,
Oh
and
yeah.
it's a little bit more casual than I think what a lot of our more groggy audience. I don't know how many grognards listen to this anyway. A lot of our more crunchy
None.
audience, let's say, our crunchy audience, and I'm not just saying that because that's the sound that your bones make when you sit down or whatever, but you like the more intense war games. I have good news. The latest Fire Emblem, Fire Emblem Engage, is a pretty crunchy war game. Surprisingly, it's not going to be a second front or anything like that, but in terms of a turn-based war game that makes you think and make decisions and uh, play with your units, um, and work on overall meta strategies and things like that,
hmm
it's shockingly pretty good. I think it's a kind of a return to form for the franchise from recently. I really liked the last few Fire Emblem games, but they were less wargamey, let me say. Um, but Engage is more of that. Uh, my criticisms of it mostly come from the fact that I think that the story is, and I'm going to say this, and I'm going to be charitable to it here. The story is dog shit, um, and that's charitable. That's very charitable. I say this, of course, as someone who watches anime like some kind of weeb or whatever. It's pretty bad. I don't like it at all. Um,
Mm,
but the fact is that I have a good time sending my units around and just kicking the hell out of the other dudes and developing my team. And it's smart. The way that the AI works is smart. Instead of the good old tactics games where all you would have to do to just kind of drag enemy units over to you is move a single guy to the edge of their radius that's really tanky and then have them all run
yeah.
at him. and so he could take all the hits, and then you would just clean everyone else up. The AI is smarter than that. It doesn't just let you kind of bait people out anymore in small groups at a time. It's figured out ways to try to overwhelm you because you as the player will have typically stronger units but less of them. That's the rhythm of
Mm,
these games. It doesn't
hmm.
want to let you get away with that anymore, and I think
I mean,
that's
that's
pretty good.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the challenge of these games most used to come from, okay, well, how do I breach this defensive position where they're not really going to do too much other than engage me when I get in range? They're a bit more active this time around.
That's good to hear. I like that because I was actually thinking about. I got a gift card for Switch. I've been hanging on to for a while, and that came out. And I'm like, do I want to dip my toe into the Fire Emblem world? Because I do like Final Fantasy Tactics. I like Advance Wars. I like those kinds of games. I just haven't ever really played Fire Emblem.
Sure. I would say if you want to get into Fire Emblem, I would say even though you're more of a wargamer than most, Three Houses is definitely a high mark for the series, and that's the one before this, and I would recommend that. The writing is very good. The gameplay is also very good. The the combat mechanics change a bit from game to game, but at the end of the day, it's all basically the same thing. Um, I like some things that were in Three Houses mechanics that aren't in Engage's mechanics, and it's a little bit too in depth to go into, basically, because they change it up every game, and I would have to start explaining everything. But Three Houses is definitely a high point for the series. Engage is a step back in terms of story and everything, but
Mm,
in terms of gameplay itself, it took a more wargamey turn,
interesting.
um, more like the classic games. But that being said, if you want to get into the series, Three Houses is probably the way to go. It's probably cheaper too at this point.
That'd be nice. It's Switch games, eh? It's not like
Yeah,
buying
well,
stuff on Steam.
it would be a good way to determine whether or not Engage would be for you.
Mm,
I'll say that, but overall, I like Engage. I haven't finished it yet, but I do like the game. Those are my
I
entire
might.
thoughts.
I mean, hey, it's good, and maybe we should branch out and start doing more console stuff too. I don't know.
There's not a ton of console strategy games, I think.
Yeah, mostly ports, I guess.
Speaking of one that is actually on console, though, Broken Lines. Did you play that?
Broken Lines. No, tell me about it.
Oh, Broken Lines is fun. I actually picked this up on a sale over last year. I think this came out towards the end of 2021, but I do want to mention it because I had a good time with it. It's a more of an indie title, but it's you play as a squad of British-ish soldiers shot down over some uh, kind of somewhere in the middle of World War II country, and basically things happen. But the gist of the game is it's kind of a we go pattern where you tell your units to go do something to engage in some actions for the next 5 seconds, I think it is, and tell
Hmm.
them to like run somewhere or uh, set up waypoints and have them start shooting at second two or whatever. And there's a nice mix of different tactics and strategies you can use because they all have different weapons, and different weapons have different skills where you can tell a guy with a rifle to stop and take a slower but more accurate shot, and you can tell a guy with a submachine gun to just spray over an area, things of that nature. And it's a nice little game. It's I don't want to say cute, but it's kind of cartoony.
Hmm.
Um, but
I mean, so second front.
in a different kind of direction, I think. But it's fun. It's a good time, and you can throw your guys against the not Nazi vague weird gas masked dudes. I didn't finish this game. I have this habit of not finishing games. I don't know what it is, but um, it's fun. I had a lot of fun playing it in the time that I played it, and I wanted to mention it because it's just one of those games. It's really just really satisfying to have your guys go and just shoot some bad guys, some random goons.
So, put it another way, with that real time WeGo thing, is it like a cartoony fantasy-ish World War II combat mission style? Like you set
It's a
the
little more. It's a smaller scale because these are all individual guys,
hmm.
so it's not quite like that. It's funny that you mentioned that actually because there's another game that is that it uses the same kind of system. that I
Mhm.
wanted to mention as well, but I think I'll hold on to that one until later because it's kind of the one I wanted to close out with because it's the one I've been
Ooh.
playing the most recently. It's the one I like the most.
Ooh.
Um, that's Phantom Brigade. We'll get to that. We'll get to that though.
Cool.
But yeah, strong showing from the WeGo games recently, which I like. I'm a WeGo guy. Um,
Mhm. No,
maybe
that's
that's my
neat.
problem with it. Well, actually, that's something I wanted to say about Second Front is that as much as I do enjoy WeGo more than I Go You Go, in Second Front, when it is your turn, the enemy does get a chance to select your guys and shoot at them. So even though it is I Go You Go, because there's no way, I shouldn't say there's no way. It's difficult to do a board game WeGo. Um,
Mhm.
it still has kind of a more active element to it than it's more active than a typical I Go You Go because the enemy can react to you during your turn and vice versa. I do
Yeah.
like that about Second Front.
Setting up those fire positions and seeing like, aha, if you move at all, I'm gonna tag you is kind of a fun way to, feel like you got one over on the eye.
Hmm.
Let's see. I'm looking at my list of recently played stuff here.
What have you recently played?
Well, funnily enough, I have put a lot of hours into Battle Academy 1.
Battle Academy 1, huh?
96 hours played, thanks to Steam. Now, that it's weird to talk about it now because I'm pretty sure it came out like a decade ago. But it's the same Pike and Shot, Field and Glory em- uh, engine. You know,
Oh, like
it's
Pike and
just
Shot and Field of Glory 1. Okay.
I never played Field and Glory 1 on PC, but yeah, Pike and Shot. It's got that vibe. It's the you got your
Oh,
squares.
I love squares.
You're moving units in the same kind of way. You're kind of given the positioning and the orders at the end of the move, kind of thing.
Hmm.
Only it's World War II, and I guess it's the same kind of squad level. Very cartoony graphics, but man, is it punishing! Like reaction fire in this game is nuts, and it'll ruin you. So it's playing an offensive scenario in this game. It feels really intense because you actually have to recon by fire and try and use mortars and suppress suspected positions and then try and advance and weather some hits, and it's fun,
Sounds brutal.
but yeah. I got to about the halfway point. I'm into the DLC now, and
Hmm.
that's why I stopped, I think, because after I beat all the main game campaigns, I went to the
Yes.
DLC. The first one was Blitzkrieg France that I had, and you're playing as the Germans. Okay, neat, because it's 1940, right? So you got some early weapons. That's fun. And the scenario design there seems to be like, all right, here's like 50 somas. Good luck. And okay, like, can you deal with every tank that the French had every time? And that kind of gets silly to me.
Hmm.
So I mean, if you can find this game when it goes on sale and you just get the base game for like $5 or something stupid, you're gonna have a great time, I think. Yeah, it is $17 flat right now without the DLC, and I'm sure it'll go on sale periodically. So it's a fun little again turn based. It's got that you know Field of Glory game system. It's just World War II and good, I think. So I mean that was fun. I've been doing
I've
that.
heard good
Mostly I've been
things.
doing that because if I'm at work and I'm between tasks, I'll play a couple turns of it because
I'm
it's
telling.
yeah, go for it. Yeah, uh, I think it's good as that kind of game where you can kind of get a bit of play without having to really put your brain into it. But
Yeah,
when
not a
you
huge amount of
do,
investment required.
it's still going to be an interesting tactical puzzle to work out.
Hmm.
And of course, there's a sequel too. I haven't played that one, but it's out there.
I want to mention, in the spirit of the day, we are recording this on the Ides of March, by the way. Just throwing that out there. There's actually two Rome games I wanted to mention briefly here.
Ooh.
Both are a little bit older at this point. One more so than the other. First is Expeditions Rome, uh, story RPG, but it is a turn-based combat system, and it's pretty solid. You have the different units you have your little guys running around with either their gladius and shield or their um, pike staff thing, or you got your archers and whatnot, and you're basically a group of recon slash special ops Roman guys towards the end of the Republic. It's a little silly plot wise, but the story is pretty good. It's kept me engaged, and I don't know. It's a pretty good game in the vein of the. I mean, we call all these things XCOM now, don't we? It's just it is something that learned good lessons from XCOM. I will say that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
So
fun. The other
random
Rome game I
man.
wanted to mention actually is Total War Rome 2. But specifically, I modded it, and I wanted to mention the mod by name. Divide et Impera is a very good mod for this game. It's breathed a lot of life back into it for me, and I think it actually just the most recent update for this was last year, so it's a little bit more relevant than me just saying go play Total War Rome 2 from what 11 years ago now, something like
I
that.
think.
I
Hmm.
don't know. It came out a long time ago at this point. Actually, it was 10 years ago. I remember this because I got my roommate into PC gaming because he saw me playing it at college. Um, but the mods breathe a lot of life into the game. It's got new units, new techs. Everything is slower, so the battles are more strategic. Um, the way that the campaign progresses is interesting, and there's a lot more attention to detail with everything. I played I think 60 or so turns as Rome. I'm a Rome fanboy. I'm sorry. Um, and it's just really fascinating because I'm still in like the 2040s or so, fighting off Carthage, and I landed a few legions in North Africa, and they are just sending all of their vassals after me, these swarms of guys, and because of the way that the mod works, it's changed up how big armies are, and so I just had a battle the other day, like 14,500 guys fighting on this map, which is way bigger than you would ever see in the vanilla game, and it's just kind of astonishing because the way that the morale system works a lot better, as does fatigue system. If heavy units, for example, which all the Romans are, get fatigued, they just get swarmed down. So you have to figure out ways to rotate them in and out and things like that. So it's really super interesting, and I like it quite a bit. It really has done wonders to fix Rome 2. I don't know any other to say it. It has fixed Rome 2 because it was kind of, I think we can all agree, a disappointment. Um,
Yeah,
at
that one
least
hurt
at
me.
least when it launched, yeah.
Yeah, but that's good to hear because I know you talked about this on our Discord a little bit, so I downloaded
Yes.
it. I haven't played it yet, but I downloaded the mod actually to give it a shot.
Everything
I
is
like.
slower. It will be a bit time consuming, I'll say, because there's 4 turns to a year.
Hmm.
Um, I was thinking like, oh, maybe I'll play a quick campaign as Rome, and then I'll try a Gallic campaign. It's like, no, 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 no. I'm I'm in this one for the long haul. It's one of those ones that I come to once every 2 weeks or so, and I'm like, okay, well, let's see if I can bust out 4 hours of this bad boy and see what happens.
Yeah, but I mean that I like slower. Um, and if it makes the game better, I like the fatigue thing you said because that
Yeah.
reminds me of a tabletop game I was playing recently called Clash of Spears, where that's a big factor is trying to manage fatigue and, like you said, heavier troops will fatigue faster, and you have to pull them back or they're going to start performing worse and worse. And I like that kind of management. That seems interesting. It kind of a lot of games will have a fatigue system, but they don't really make it central. So that's neat.
Hmm.
Speaking of things slowing down to a state where I can attempt to play them periodically, Warno has gotten more playable for me.
I forgot that Warno existed until you mentioned it just now. I knew that it launched,
Hmm.
and everyone was like, "It's another war game
Yep,
in the
this
war game
is.
series," and I said, "Okay,
Yep, I mean, Wargame and Steel Division was the World War II variant, right?
yeah,
And then Warno goes back to the Cold War gone hot, late '80s thing, which I like that Cold War setting. I think that's interesting.
yeah." Why is it not a war game? Do you know? Why
I
is
mean,
it? Why
like,
do they
why
go
is
with
it
a
not?
new branding, as in Warno instead of War Game?
Ah, I guess I don't know. They're sticking to the Cold War. They're not going past it like with War Game. Everything kind of chronologically kept climbing and climbing into the modern. So this is supposed to be a Cold War game. I think they're just trying to distance. You know, this is
Rebrand,
spiritual
yeah.
successor. This is a brand new take on it.
Hmm.
And for what it's worth, I'm enjoying the fact because I couldn't play Wargame. I tried a few times and it was just too much for me. This is and now with updates, it's slower to the point that I feel like my freaking caveman brain can react because I'm not hyper fast clicks per minute RTS gamer, but I can still play this and enjoy it. And if I'm playing single player, there's a slow mo and real time pausing and whatnot, and it's a gorgeous game. It's really fun to see the big battlefields and all the super long ranged engagement with the tanks and the infantry running around and the jets and helicopters doing their thing. So I mean, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying watching my friend play it. He's playing ranked matches, and it's really interesting to see how competitive the game can be. Personally, I'm waiting for the campaign to come out before I really dig into it. But that was just we're talking
Ooh,
about
playing the
older
campaign.
games that. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. 'Cause it's going to be like a strategic level, and then you go into fight
Ooh.
a Warno battle when you get to the when you actually engage with the force. So I'm looking forward to that. And when it came out, it was again too fast and too much for me, but it's slowing down appreciably, and I think it's worth looking at if you're at all into the real time thing. I wouldn't try rank though. Holy crap! Just
The people who
enjoy
play
the
that scare me.
yeah, too much for me.
Yeah.
But hey, I think it's good. I think it's finally got to a point where it's worth playing for real. If you're not, if you're like super into that type of game, then yeah, you should be playing the whole time. But if you're not, I think now it's fine.
Let yourself get clubbed for the ranked players. Why don't you?
um, look at my list here. Have you played Fire Maneuver recently?
I don't think I play Fire Maneuver at all.
Yeah. This is
Nothing to
one that was kind of disappointing to me.
say about that. Yeah, we talked about that before, but I don't. You had said that it was good, and then you said you were excited for it to go somewhere, and I guess it didn't.
Yeah, that's basically where I'm at. Like, it has a great skeleton that seems very interesting, and I'm still waiting for it to get to the point where I feel like it's doing anything with that skeleton.
I love you'd say. I don't think I've ever described as anything as having like a really good skeleton. I'm not saying that it's a bad way to describe something. I just really like, yeah, man, check out the skeleton on that guy.
I mean, I think it works. It's got a good structure. It's all the
Very
pieces for
dashing
something
bone system.
interesting are there. It just needs to be fleshed out. There's no flesh on those bones.
Yeah, that's the for those who might not know, that's the turn-based line infantry kind of era game, isn't it?
Yep. Yeah, there's like 19th century stuff. So there's an American Civil War module, a Crimean War, and basically post-Napoleonic 19th century European, which you don't get a lot of because there's not a lot happen there. But they set it up like a sandbox,
I
almost like
think plenty
you're
of
playing
things happen,
Warhammer.
just no one talks about it.
I mean,
As far
in terms of
as
major wars that are happening in the European continent,
the
the
Franco-Prussian
post.
War was pretty major, I'd say.
And when was that?
That was 1871.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, you're jumping a bit from 1815 and the peace in Europe in our time thing too.
that's true, but I also think that it would be interesting to model out, the suppressionary wars of the 1848. I mean, there were the Italian states rebelling against the Austro-Hungarian Empire, uh, formerly known as the Holy Roman Empire. I think right around this time, the Crimean War. There's a lot of stuff there. It's just, I mean, does the game cover those things?
So they, they've set it up. Okay, there's a Crimean War module. There's an
Okay.
American Civil War module, and there's a Wars of Unification module, which is the Franco-Prussian War. Now, there's a lot of room for other stuff to be thrown in there. But like I said, they kind of set it up where you have your army, you build it up in points, and then you go online and play a match with somebody. It's like a
Hmm.
Warhammer thing where you go to the gaming store with your army and your 2,000 points, and then you play with someone else who has 2,000 points showed up. And
Oh,
to me,
gotcha.
that's not.
That's kind of tabletop, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'd rather see more of the campaign stuff get fleshed out because they
Hmm.
have it where you have a map and you're moving your forces around and you're building little storage places for
Oh, kind of
supplies. And
classic Pike and Shot, huh?
yeah, yeah,
This is the second
and
time we referenced Pike and Shot. Where's Pike and Shot 2, guys? Come on.
I mean, I actually played a bit of Pike and Shot a while ago. I'm enjoying. I mean, I was playing Field of Glory 2 Medieval. I was playing the some of the campaigns
Hmm.
for that recently. That was a lot of fun. I did the Alexander Nevsky campaign. That was good fun.
Who doesn't enjoy Mr. Nevsky?
Hmm
Nevsky and the boys.
I'm trying to think of
I
what
love
else.
accidentally just drowning thousands of crusading knights.
Yeah, the map wasn't very kind to me when it generated that one.
Oof, sorry.
It was fun, but definitely definitely a tougher battle. I'm trying to think of what else we've got here that I don't actually play. Now that I have to think back about what I've been doing with my time. I'm getting the hell let loose. It's not really a war game; it's a shooter, but it's a of
It's
the
a game
grognardy
that has
tactical.
war in it. I was going to
Hmm
mention another game that isn't really a war game, but it is a game that does war as
hmm
well. So that's fair.
Have you played Hell Let Loose?
I think I have booted it up,
It's
and that's it.
yeah, it's got that squad postscriptum, that kind of thing where you've got your two teams, you've got a melee engagement or an attack defense, 100 players. The teams are broken down into squads. Each squad is a squad leader. Squad leaders communicate with the commander, set up supply, set up fire missions, place objectives, place spawn points, and then you fight to secure objectives back and
Mm.
forth across the map. So if you can get into a game where like people are communicating and you've got a good working team, it can be so much fun. Like it's
It's one of those
amazing.
ones that I feel like I don't know if I would like to play unless I was playing it with friends. You know?
Yeah, I mean if you can get 6 people to just be a squad and a squad leader knows the game, then that is probably the best gaming experience you can have, right? You're
Sure.
working with your team, you've got your machine gunner, you got the radio guy who's like falling behind and helping the squad leader place uh, spawn points for the team and everything, and you've got your riflemen and your medics and AT guys. Like it's really fun. You'd be like, oh look, there's a tank there, and then that gets communicated to the rest of the squad, which then gets communicated up the line to the commander, who then marks on the map so everyone can see where that thing is, and then you get your AT guy and one of the riflemen to go loop around to try and get it. Like it's great. It's got the usual late war Western Front Americans, Germans, Normandy thing, and then
Mm.
actually has a Eastern Front module, which I prefer when it comes up because you get these big, wide open fields and a
Is
big
that early or
Stalingrad
late
map.
war? Because everyone loves doing like Stalingrad and everything, but I feel like everything past Stalingrad up to Berlin doesn't exist in the average Westerner's mind. It's like Stalingrad happened, and then a few years later, the Soviets rolled into Berlin. Who knows what happened in between?
All those
Not like
campaign,
it's like
nah,
the biggest war that ever occurred over there. It's just like,
some Kursk
uh,
maps.
they pushed for Moscow, they failed, they went for Stalingrad, that failed, and then sometime later that Berlin happened, the end.
Sometime later, Berlin. No, there's some Kursk maps. There's um some of the big open fields with some hamlets here and there. Like that's
I
fun.
enjoy a Kursk. That's interesting.
Hmm
That's good.
Yeah, I really like that. There's some progression, but I feel like it's there to keep people like playing. I'm level
What's the progression
26.
look like in this game? Is it like unlock
Uh,
new hat,
no.
like a TF2 kind of deal?
I unlocked medic level 2 a while ago, and I got to go in with a sidearm only.
Oh, that's fun. Okay, so it actually does have things. I actually liked that about Red Orchestra 2. Um, one of the, I think people disagree with me about this, but I really liked this that as the more you played a role, your character would have marginal, like very marginal, but it existed increases in ability. Like he would uh chamber a new round slightly faster. Like I think at the max level it was like 8% faster or something like that, and you would take slightly less shock from people shooting near you. Your character wouldn't get suppressed quite as easily, and I thought that that was super cool. But no other game I think has really done progression quite like that, and it's been disappointing to me because I think it would be it's a cool thing where a multiplayer game you have progression that is meaningful over the long term, but it isn't really noticeable. You can still shoot that guy and kill him just as easy as anyone else. You know?
it sounds like they did a proper version of what Escape from Tarkov tried, but they made it annoying, and Red Orchestra made it good. That like that marginal increase that you know you want to reload slightly faster. That's 80 hours of hitting the reload button. Yeah, so I mean, hello, this has been. I've been eyeing. Is it the is it Isonzo, the Italian version
Yeah, yeah,
of
the guys
Verdun?
who did Verdun and then
Yeah,
Tenberg, now it's Isanzo, isn't it?
yeah. I've been thinking about that one, but then I started playing Hella Loose, and I just haven't bought another one. So I think I've found my squad, my postscriptum, my big multiplayer battlefield, but actually no one doing backflips and whatnot.
I'll
Um,
have to play it sometime. I have it. I just booted it up the one time. I can see that I probably bought it on a sale, given that I booted it up sometime in December a couple of years ago. So I probably got it for like $3 at a sale. Said cool, and then that was that. Um,
we should put it out with our Discord, and I'll be a squad leader, and then you can be my little radio guy, so you learn the ropes while you follow around and
your
make sure
little
we get stuff
radio
going.
man. That's what everyone calls me.
Yep.
Everyone's like, that's Joe's little radio guy.
Hey, if we play Americans, you get a cool carbine. It's fun.
Uh,
What? You shitting on the carbine?
I have two more games I want to mention. I
Sure.
mentioned Phantom Brigade. I wanted to talk about that, but and when I say two, I mean four, but three of them are just games in a series.
Mm.
This is my entry into the not really a war game category here. Um, and it's Sabers of Infinity slash Guns of Infinity slash Lords of Infinity. They're choose your own adventure novels that center around the player as a dragoon officer in this fictional universe. Um, and I really, really like it. It's really well written, and I wouldn't mention it as a war game, except for the fact that you, as the dragoon officer, end up making decisions in combat in the game, and depending on your character's stats, which are determined by like decisions that you make, and determined by how drilled or how high the morale is, or how high the loyalty is of your guys, they'll react differently depending on what orders you give them and perform differently. If your guys aren't very drilled, they're just going to get slaughtered by some guys on the other side who know what they're doing. But on the other hand, if your guys do know what they're doing, they can just hold their own and do a really good job. And there's so many different permutations of how the game is written. Um, Based on these results. And anyway, I mentioned this as three games because the first one is Sabers of Infinity, but it's part of a series and it progresses into Guns of Infinity and then Lords of Infinity. And then there's just apparently two more games coming out in the future, so that's fun. But it was a long wait for this last one, so who knows how long the wait's going to be for the next two. But if you're looking for a fun narrative thing, you can bust one of these out probably in an evening or two. Um, it's a great time. I had a lot of fun playing it. I'll say that.
It's neat. It's a purely text, right? No visuals.
Uh, there's a reference guide with maps and things like that, but there's no visuals otherwise.
That's
No.
kind of fun, actually, having the like a reference that you're
Well,
opening up
yeah,
a
there's
map to
like
look at
you
things.
can see a bar, like you can see a bar showing your stats and then like your unit's stats, so you can see how many men you have, what their level of discipline is, so on and so forth.
That's neat. It's a very different take, but I think that sounds fun.
I think it's super fun. I enjoyed it very much.
Hmm, that'd be cool.
And the other game I wanted to mention is Phantom Brigade. Joe, I'll let you close that, I guess, whatever if you have a
Sure.
one. But Phantom Brigade, like Broken Lines, is a turn-based WeGo game, so both uh, teams make the decisions at the same time. But what's cool about this is that it's a mech game, and you move your squad around and equip your mechs on your own on the overall big map, and you're basically trying to liberate this country. And so you're always going to be outgunned overall. So it's all down to individual tactics. But what's interesting about this game is that you can see what the opponents are going to do. You can see what their line of attack is going to be. So you can plan your next 5 seconds exactly to try to counteract them or get them before they can enact their plan. Of course, if you say, for example, this guy is trying to shoot you, and at 3 seconds in, and you knock him over at 2 seconds, then he won't be able to execute that. So you can change the course of the future a little bit, but you can see the
Hmm.
course of the next 5 seconds and how everything is going to play out um, at first. And the entire game is broken up like this. So these engagements are in real time very fast. I mean, these maps will be finished up in 15, 20 seconds sometimes. I've only had a few go over a minute total, but you can spend a lot of time really just nitpicking all of the very specifics of your your plan here. And I don't know. I
Sounds cool. It sounds
really,
like Into the Breach.
it's kind of like a real time Into the Breach. Yeah, yeah.
That's cool.
And
Yeah, I liked Into the Breach a lot.
if you're into mechs, it's super good, and it looks really good. I have to say, like these guys are shooting big mech assault rifles at each other, or some guy's got a cannon or a sniper rifle or whatever, and it's shattering buildings and things like that. And you shoot an arm off of a mech, or you hit it in the center and you take it out, and it blows up, and it just all goes red and then explodes in this big blue explosion. It looks awesome. It looks
Yeah,
super cool. I like it a lot. And that's all I have to say about that. I think I'm going to be writing a review for that as well, as the same time as I'm writing a review for Second Front. So more words to come from Jack on that, but
yeah,
that's my take.
that sounds really intriguing. I like the sound of that. Last two things I'm going to mention. The new Wargame Design Studio game, Philippines 44, came out.
Ooh.
And it's the Panzer Campaigns series, and I love that one because that brings it right back, like, higher to like the brigade level, I think you want to call it, because
Hmm.
you do have divisions of crap running around, but it's usually broken down into companies or whatnot. But I am consistently impressed with the scope of those games and the scope of the research that those guys do. Like, I opened up the manual and it was like 200 pages of them talking about the research and all the other stuff they've done. There's, like 3 dozen scenarios here.
Wow.
And looking at this one
Just for
here,
the Philippines, huh?
yep, Late
Wow.
operation is 637 turns. And that one's intended for 2 player. But you can get a lot of like 100 turn, 96 turn, games for single player. And if you can get around the old style JTS, you know, interface, it's easy to play, it's really fun, and they've actually updated it now slightly graphically. So the
Hmm.
time commands are at the top here. You can break it down by unit, combat, engineer stuff, and having the time command right there is so good because you can just max out the speeds if you have a freaking, you know, multi-division game going on. It'll resolve the turns in a couple minutes rather than half an hour. Because that was something I was doing with the old Japan 45 and 46 that I really liked. When I first started, before I knew there was time commands, I was like, man, this is going to take years. And then I found out I've ate a bunch of times. It'll speed it up, and now the commands are right there for you. So that's fun in that, like, super groggy way.
Hmm.
And I don't know if it's one to, like, start with, but I don't think people should sleep on those games. There's a lot of them there. They're not that expensive. They're like 30, $40 for a new one, and it's just the amount of content in each one is just baffling every time I load them up. So, check those out. That's Wargame Design Studio. And last one I think I want to talk about
Fortnite.
Flashpoint campaigns.
Oh, I was wrong.
Southern Storm came out, and that was one of those from Southern Matrix that I'd like to review. Um, I liked Flashpoint campaigns, and this feels like it's just doing the same thing. It's WeGo, but it's that
Hmm?
variable WeGo that I liked a lot about Flashpoint campaigns. So, like, the amount of command and control a side can exert over its force, the slower the time bound. So if you're got your shit together, you might be issuing orders every 7 minutes, and your enemy, who might not, is issuing orders every 15 minutes. So you issue those orders, and then set it off, and then the game goes, and the AI tries to react to it, and then you can issue new orders in those time bounds based on the competency and coherency of your army, and that's a great mechanic.
Kind of sounds like oh boy, I can't remember the names of these games. There was some World War II games that were We might be talking about the same thing as far as I know.
Hmm.
Was it
Flashpoint
Flashpoint?
Campaigns is World War II gone hot. Sorry, World War II gone hot. God, Cold War gone hot.
World War II did go hot.
It did. It went about as hot as you can go. Cold War
Uh,
stuff.
Graviteam Tactics. That's what I was going to say.
Oh, Graviteam. I've tried Graviteam. You see, this might be the one that I can't get into.
Oh,
I tried
trust me, I
Graviteam
can't get
recently.
into Graviteam either. I want to be able to. I just can't. I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
Yeah, I even got my some friends to like I'd streamed it for them, and they're like wargaming guys, and I was just trying to figure out. It was North Africa. There, it's called Tank Battles. They're one that's like just North African campaign.
Mhm.
Tank Warfare Tunisia 43, and the freaking tutorial kills you. I I got my friend to be like, you gotta sit through this with me because I can't, I gotta be missing something. The tutorial was literally, all right, here's how you move guys, here's how you mount them up on their tanks, here's how you know dismount, and here's how you issue an attack.
Good luck.
And it issued where it told you, because it gave you specifically where to click for everything. It told you to issue an attack where your 3 Shermans and like a company of guys would walk across a field and get absolutely shredded by mortars and AT guns and entrenched riflemen. And I'm like,
I don't know if any game hates you more than Graviteam
yeah,
Tactics.
like why would you do that? It's the tutorial. Like, is it? It wasn't like a you know Final Fantasy. You're supposed to lose this battle so you can like progress the story. It's just like here's how you attack, and then I watch my guys get absolutely torn apart like 3
That is one of
times. I
my
kept
least
playing it.
favorite shticks in video games. I'm sorry to go off on a tangent now, but if the game wants you to lose, it should tell you.
I agree. I
That
remember.
is not something you deal with much in war games, but listen here, game developers, stop it.
Yeah, I don't
I've
think you
had
see that
enough.
too much anymore, do you? I mean, I remember that back on the Super Nintendo.
Oh man, there was a game I played recently that did that. I don't remember what it was though.
Not a fan.
I'm not either. Don't
Yeah,
don't do that. If you're building a game, don't do that. Listen, don't. If you intend for the player to lose, make it unavoidable. Don't make it look like the player could win.
he spent
The
all his
enemy has to come
resources.
over and punch your guy in the face, and he goes down to 0 health right away. Like don't do it otherwise. Come on.
Mm. So yeah, Gravity. Too much of a pain in the ass for me. I'll stick with combat mission. Oh yeah, combat mission. Oh my god, Jack.
Combat mission.
There's a bug in combat mission.
There's a bug in combat mission.
A big one
A
that I
big
don't
one.
see them. They haven't fixed it yet. I'm upset. I
Is
like
this your way
combat
of
mission.
telling me that they've done Starship Troopers and
Yeah. How would
that was that
let
wasn't
me
very good.
paint
I'm
you a
sorry.
picture.
Okay.
You're playing a game of combat mission.
Okay.
Somebody fires something explosive. It
That
lands
happens
and
often.
explodes.
Yes.
Your entire screen goes blinding white like you got flashbanged in a Counter-Strike game. Every explosion, full white screen.
I shouldn't be laughing. I know people that have like light sensitivity things that could have a
Yeah,
seizure.
yeah. What the hell, right?
I shouldn't be laughing. It's not funny. The
It
fact that this
is.
exists is funny, but the fact that it could happen to someone and hurt them isn't funny.
Yeah, and I went looking, and it's been like reported for months, and it's just AMD cards, but it's
Which
all AMD cards.
oh well. Which combat mission is this? Shock Force 2? Cold War?
Um, all of them,
All
because
of
it's the
them.
engine. It's an engine problem.
So they updated the game
Yeah,
engine and now all of them do this.
if you have an AMD card, yes. So I don't know if they just don't like AMD. Like I have an AMD card, obviously, because it's happening to me. But I have the latest professional sitting here with stuff from the British military that I want to test, and I don't want to freaking die, so I'm not playing it. And I keep posting in their little Discord, like, can you please fix this? And just nah. Yeah. So I mean, I'm waiting for because you know what's coming out end of this month.
What's that?
Beyond Overlord or whatever the Normandy one is coming to Steam.
That's an old one, isn't it?
Yeah, but you know, it's come on, it's combat mission. It's like it's always old. But I want to play the World War II ones.
Yeah. No, definitely. That's super cool because their storefront was up there with Rule the Waves as being like some of the most archaic.
Yes.
Speaking of which, Rule the Waves is going to GOG, so like good for them. I
Uh-huh.
think actually the third one's coming out soon, so that's good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah,
And
still a
as long as it doesn't
spreadsheet
blind
game.
me.
God bless them. The white of the spreadsheet might blind you, but other than that, I would be surprised.
Honestly happened to me. Okay, another non sequitur, but like trying to play that in the dark at night, and then I try and boost up Rule of the Waves, and it does blind you. hmm I only had that
Oh
happen
man.
before with Dwarf Fortress, where I had Dwarf Therapist, and it's like just a white Excel sheet, right? And I was
Mm.
playing, and it's all dark, and look at my little ASCII characters, and they tab over, and I get blinded by the Excel. Yeah. Also, we have to do an episode about Dwarf Fortress.
Oh man, I was going to say I didn't even mention that because I don't consider it a war game, but
It's not a war game, but I still want to talk about it.
Dwarf Fortress is Dwarf Fortress. Dwarf Fortress is Dwarf Fortress. What else can I say about it? What can
It
I say
has
about Dwarf Fortress?
one of the
It's
most
Dwarf
interesting
Fortress, like really.
combat mechanics of any game I've ever played.
I love the combat mechanics in Dwarf Fortress so much.
hmm And there
I
is
love
war
them.
in the
Hmm?
fact that you can send
Oh
out
yeah,
expeditions and conquer territories, and
and people come for you.
yes, they do. So I mean, I don't know. We can do a you know.
I don't
Also,
know
here's
if
a
we could
Dwarf
do a
Fortress
whole
episode.
episode about it, but maybe we could do an episode of let's talk about war adjacent games.
Yeah, let's do that because I want to talk about Dwarf Fortress.
Yeah,
Anyways,
I want to talk about door. Yeah.
I'm done ragging on. I love combat mission, and I feel like that entitles me to be shitty to it sometimes when it's just they're being awful. like,
I think that it's the biggest fans of games who should be entitled to hate on them.
yeah,
You
fix your damn
know,
shit, guys. I want to play your game.
my husband, for example, probably one of the biggest Destiny fans I know. Destiny has sucked ass recently, and I've heard most about it from him. Uh, Yakuza, really good. I'm the biggest Yakuza fan I know, but I heard that they were doing a DLC thing, and don't do that. Don't do the DLC. Like you unlock something from this DLC thing, and they don't let you download it in all playthroughs. That's what I had heard happened in this.
what?
I'm like, what is up? What's up with that? It's like a horse armor kind of deal.
Yeah, not do that.
Now I want to defend myself here. I don't. I haven't verified this personally because I haven't done multiple playthroughs, and I had like the pre-order thing because I pre-ordered this game. Don't pre-order games, but I already knew I was going to play it anyway, so that's why I did. But don't pre-order games. If you don't know you're already going to be playing it, don't pre-order it. This is me saying this as a game journalist, putting my game journalist hat on. Don't do that. But I pre-ordered the game, and I haven't seen this myself. But if it isn't there, and this was just someone saying something that ended up being incorrect, sorry to RGG Games. But if it was there, shame on you, RGG Games. Don't do a horse armor.
Yeah, don't do that. I bought the horse armor. I bought the expansion pack when it came into stores when I was younger for Oblivion. It had all
I
the
think
DLC in one.
I think Oblivion was one of the first physical games that I bought. I'm surprised that they let me get away with it. I was like 10.
Oblivion's great. Okay, now we're
I
way
also
off
bought
topic. So,
Dawn of War as a 10-year-old. They didn't give a shit about that one.
nah, it's too fancy.
It was rated M. And I was like, can I buy this game, sir? And they're like, sure, kid.
Yeah, Space Marines, orcs, whatever. It's all good.
Yeah, it's fine. I wasn't traumatized. Watching Saving Private Ryan at the age of 10, though, that traumatized me.
See, that's people. That makes it harder. But I think this was a good little look at what we've been playing for the past while.
Yeah.
I think people who are interested would have some good stuff to check out if they want to dip their toes in some more war
Yeah,
games.
definitely look at this stuff. There's a couple of others I didn't mention, but I think that's more stuff that I want to save for our next episode because we'll be our next episode. I think that this will be our next one. We're going to be talking about 40K games.
Mm-hmm.
Love a Warhammer 40K, and there's a couple of those that I've been playing, and a couple that Joe have been playing. We want to talk about the universe of Warhammer 40K games because
Just a
God, are there a lot of them,
what a fantastic and mind-boggling expanse.
and grimdark expanse.
Mm. But this was fun getting back into the seat here and talking about these games.
I love being in the podcasting saddle once again. It's been years. It feels like 6 months
Mm-hmm.
almost.
So it's a dog year, or a cat year, or a hamster year, or something.
A hamster. You would have killed a hamster, I think.
Oh,
But
we got one,
you know,
still kicking. It's been over a year.
good for you.
Never sent you a picture of Chi Chi the hamster?
I've never seen Chi Chi the hamster.
Oh, she's a fierce little thing. When the cat goes near it, she's like at the bar, just going like like picking a fight. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think this is a good point to wrap up. Thanks for listening to us rant and rave and ramble about our war games that we've played recently, the good ones, and then the other ones that we've played.
And the ones
I
we
don't know.
disagree on the quality.
Yeah. And I'm going to say this out loud to try to hold us to this. We're trying to get on a better schedule for this, at least one episode a month. If you hear this and then it's like 3 months later and neither of us have posted anything,
Someone probably died.
well, I don't want to, knock on wood, but we're going to try. We want to keep to this, and our things seem to be settling down, so we can make a better promise of it this time. I'll say than we did last time. And with that, I don't have anything to like really announce or anything.
No.
Don't follow me on Twitter anymore. I don't really use it because I think it's a bad website.
Because Twitter. Yeah, I've not been
It's a
doing
bad
Twitter.
website. If
Come
you're
join our
not listening
Discord.
to this, come to the Discord. That's in the show notes. Come hang out there with us and talk to us. Play Hell Let Loose with Joe and maybe me if you can convince me to play that. It's all good. And what are you? Hey, what are you doing? Hey, sorry, I was sitting here doing our outro. My cat starts batting at the keyboard. Starts biting the cable and stuff. She's not normally a cable biter, at least on my desk, and she comes over here while I'm recording. It's like,
She wants us to be done.
I want me to be done. I have a pizza waiting. Anyway, I guess that's all we have. Just come over and hang out with us in the Discord. Follow Joe on Twitter. Don't follow me on Twitter. You don't want to do that. I'm just angry on Twitter now. You don't want to do that. If you can find my Tumblr, good luck. But I'm not going to advertise that.
Just come to the Discord. Just
follow me on LinkedIn. Follow Joe on LinkedIn.
Yeah, sure. I should update that at some point.
Don't follow me on LinkedIn. I'm not going to publish my LinkedIn. But anyway, if you have any thoughts, comments, questions about anything that we put up here, or you want us to talk about a specific war game, maybe yours, maybe you're an indie developer and want us to talk about your thing, drop us a line at the Let's Talk About Wargames @gmail.com email address. We love getting emails. We love reading emails. We even love replying to emails. So, make our day. Reach out to us. Say hi. But that's everything from me. Joe, do you have any parting words for our listeners?
Have a safe and happy day, everybody.
Yeah. Have a happy, safe day. And stab Caesar or something. It is the Ides. It'll be after the Ides when you hear this, but find him anyway. Give him one for me.
Eat some Little Caesars and stab that.
Eat some Little Caesars. That is our parting message to you all. Take care, everyone. Thank you, and goodbye.
Bye-bye.